So hello everyone and welcome to today's training webinar on using the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation's Coastal Resilience Open Data Platform. Before we get started, I wanted to review some Webex tips. There are 3 ways to connect with the audio today. You can either listen via your computer speakers, use the Call Me feature to receive an automated call from Webex, or call in using the details that are here on the slide. Regardless of the audio method you choose, please mute yourself when you are not speaking to avoid any excess background noise. Additionally, you can use the chat window to let us know if you are having any Webex issues. Great, so let's jump into the presentation. To start, my name is Sarah Chadwick, and I'm with Apt Associates, a contractor supporting NFWF in their efforts to create a data repository. Also on the line is my colleague, Justin Stein, who has helped build the open data platform that we will review today. He will be monitoring the chat window throughout the presentation today and will be available to answer questions at the end during the Q&A session. We'll start today's training session by introducing NFWF's Coastal Resilience Open Data Platform, which I will refer to throughout the presentation as the Open Data Platform. We will then conduct a live demonstration on how to upload and search for data. We will conclude today's webinar with a question and answer session. While you may enter questions into the chat box as we go, we will reserve all questions until the end of the webinar. At that time, we will answer the questions in the chat box, or you may unmute yourself to ask your question. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and may be posted for training purposes. However, we will not post a recording of the Q&A piece of the webinar, so feel free to ask whatever questions about your data that you would like. So let's jump in. What is the Open Data Platform? The Open Data Platform provides an open-ended system for NFWF grant recipients, also known as the grantees, to catalog or contribute any raw data collected or generated as part of their monitoring efforts. There are a few primary goals of the Open Data Platform. The first is to provide a transparent means of reporting the measurable impacts of NFWF-funded coastal resiliency projects. The Open Data Platform also provides long-term access to the monitoring data collected as part of these efforts to both the grantees and, in the future, the wider public. Finally, the Open Data Platform is a space for grantees to be able to explore, view, and share the work on their projects with other coastal resilience experts working on NFWF grants. I know many of you on the line here today are all data people, and I want to stress that this is a really cool opportunity for you guys to see the data that other coastal resilience folks are working on. This slide reviews a few key terms that you will hear a lot over the course of the presentation. Think of each of these terms as a unit, and they make up the general framework of the Open Data Platform. The largest units are grants and programs. You as a grantee are registered in the Open Data Platform under both your NFWF grant and the program under which it was awarded. Example programs include the Emergency Coastal Resilience Fund, Hurricane Sandy Coastal Resiliency, and the National Coastal Resilience Fund. If you hold multiple grants, you may be a part of multiple programs. Under each grant can be any number of datasets. Datasets are collections of files that are associated with one grant number and are centered around a common theme. We will discuss datasets in more detail in just a few slides. The files within a dataset are called resources, which hold the data itself. A resource can be virtually any type of file format. It can even be a hyperlink that's on the web. You may also upload a zip file as a resource, and this is really helpful when it comes to large files or if you have grouped files that need to stay together, such as geospatial data. This chart here provides a high-level overview of the framework that I just detailed. As you can see, programs contain grants, grants contain datasets, and datasets contain resources. I'll leave this slide up for just a moment so that you can take a closer look. Let's now take a closer look at datasets, as they are a crucial aspect of the open data platform. I'll just make a note here. I am getting a bit of background noise, so if people wouldn't mind muting themselves, just so we can avoid that. Great, thanks. So as I said before, datasets are collections of files that A, are associated with one grant number, and B, are centered on a common theme. The Open Data Platform uses datasets to give flexibility to grantees. It allows you to group your data at a level suited to how your data are collected or organized. Generally speaking, a good dataset provides a collection of data resources around a theme within your grant. Datasets are best structured around themes that are easily delineated and searchable. And we'll provide some examples of these themes in just a moment. These themes can evolve over time by adding resources to the dataset. For instance, if you have selected to define a dataset around a particular geography, you can add resources to that dataset as you collect more data at that location. Or if you are collecting data across multiple years, you can create your initial dataset and then add resources each year as they are available. We're now going to look at a few example themes to show how you might want to define your datasets. The first is geographically linked data for a specific project location. For example, a grantee might be collecting a diverse set of monitoring data for 4 distinct locations. These locations may share similar or differing collection strategies, but might be best packaged separately on a site-by-site basis, since the data are not expected to be linked across the locations. For this example, we would suggest one data set for each site, so 4 total data sets, consisting of all the resources for that location. Next, we have scientifically linked data across a large geographic area. If data are being gathered across a number of locations, but the grant is focused on comparing across these locations, it might make sense to place multiple locations into a single dataset around a scientific or analytical theme. In this example, we would suggest one or more datasets with resources supplying information of interest for analyzing regional trends across a broad area, such as remote sensing data or wave modeling data. And lastly, we have a custom dataset. A case study or mixture of the two themes previously shown is shown on the slide here. In this instance, you might be looking in detail at a location or context where it makes sense to center your dataset around this theme so that someone could retrieve the full context of your data. This is differentiated from the previous examples in that your case study might be a mixture of geographic and scientific themes. Now let's discuss access to the Open Data Platform. The link to reach the Open Data Platform can be seen here on the screen. There are a few levels of access to the Open Data Platform. Public access is for those that are not grantees. They have the ability to search and download data that is made public within the Open Data Platform, but they cannot edit or upload data. You as grantees have the option to log into the Open Data Platform to upload and customize data as you wish. This requires registration, which we'll discuss next. The Open Data Platform uses Google authentication for access. This process does not require a Gmail address, but it does require you to register your organizational email to be used for authentication. Registration instructions were also included in the invitation to this event, so feel free to follow along and register your user ID as we go if you haven't already done so. The registration steps are as follows. First, access resiliencedata.nfwf.org and use the login link at the top right of the page. We'll see where this is in the live data demo. Select Create Account on the Google login page, and you can see a screenshot of that up on the slide. If you are logged into a personal email address that is not associated with your grant, select Use a different account and then Create Account. If you are already using your grant email address, select use my current email address instead. And you can also see a screenshot of where that is on the slide. Once you've entered your information, you will receive a verification code to your email. Make sure to check your spam folder if you did not see the code come through. Following registration, you must request to be added to your grant in order to upload and access data. To request access to your grant, email NFWF Coastal Resilience at aptosos.com with the following information. 1. Your grant number. 2. The program your grant was awarded under. And 3. A list of any folks from your grant that have registered and needed to be added to the grant as well. We do ask that the PIs for each grant be the primary points of contact when it comes to adding others to a grant. For security reasons, we will not add people to a grant without the PI's permission. You can also feel free to notify us when new people start working on your project, and this will help us keep track of those that should have access to a grant. Next, we're going to move into our live data demonstration that will show how to upload, edit, and search data. As a reminder, we are going to save all questions until the end of the webinar. However, feel free to type them into the Q&A box as we go or jot them down to ask verbally later. I'll take a moment now to switch over to the Open Data platform. This is the homepage for the Open Data platform. If you are a grantee, log in using the button on the upper right-hand corner of your screen. I have already registered, so my grant email appears here as an option. Once you're logged into the site, the first thing you see is your dashboard, which has 4 main tabs. The Newsfeed tab allows you to view any recent activity on any of the datasets that you've created. The My Datasets tab allows you to view the datasets that you have created. You can also use this tab to add datasets by clicking on the Add Dataset button at the top of the tab. The My Grants tab shows all of the grants that you are a part of. By clicking on the name of the grant, it will take you to the grant page, which shows the associated contacts, recent activity, and a description of the grant. We'll take a closer look towards the end of the demonstration. My Programs shows which programs you are a part of. By clicking on the name of a program, you can access contacts, recent activity, and associated datasets. You can use the dashboard icon in the upper right-hand corner of the page to return to your dashboard at any time. We'll now demonstrate how to add a dataset. To add a dataset, go to the Datasets tab. Here you will see a button to add the data. And as we just saw, you can also use the Datasets tab in your dashboard to do the same. There are a few required categories to fill in as you add your dataset. The first is the title. You must create a unique title for each dataset added to the Open Data platform. The title should be a unique value that clearly describes what the dataset contains. An easy way to create a strong title is to think of it like the title of a report you are writing about the data. Consider what type of data the dataset contains and what common theme it's centered around. For example, Nectin species richness in Prime Hook, New Jersey is a better title than something vague like fish data. And in fact, we'll use the New Jersey example for today's demonstration. As I enter the title, you'll see that the site automatically generates a custom URL based on the plain text that I enter. And when the dataset is created, this link will take you directly to it. Data maintainer, the email and name are also required fields. And this information helps users identify correct points of contact if there are further questions about the data, such as methods, data use, etc. So I will put in my name and email. The description is another required field. Here you can add a longer description of the data set, including information such as methods, data sources, and details about data collection. This data will be captured in a data search, so consider including details that will make it easier for others to find your grant. Generally speaking, the description section should be in a paragraph format rather than a series of keywords. Think of it like this. If the title is a report name, then the description is an abstract. And I'll provide an example now. So here's an example description that could accompany a data set. You'll see in the example here, I explain how the data was collected, what researchers did, the type of data that was collected, so adding details such as depth, temperature, and salinity were also measured. I've included information such as key dates, so this information was collected from 2015 to 2018. And I've also included the type of data that the data set contains. So you'll see here I have this data set includes temporal and geospatial data detailing the number of species per square kilometer at prime hook locations. So that's an example description that you could use for your data set. Next, the Open Data Platform asks for some information about your grant. As we know, users are affiliated with their grant, and when adding a data set, your grant will be chosen by default. However, if you work on multiple grants, make sure to select the funding grant under which the data were collected. So I'm associated with one grant, so that automatically appears. Visibility. The options provided are private or public. Private is currently the default, but it may change to public in the future. Datasets marked as private will not appear to anyone outside of your grant program, with the exception of NFWF site administrators. Public data is available to any registered user across all programs and grants. And in the future, this could also mean the general public. For the purposes of this example, I will be selecting public. Program affiliation. This refers to the NFWF program under which the grant was awarded. You may select from the provided list of programs suggested. If you have received a grant or grants under a single program, it will automatically be selected. However, if you belong to multiple programs, make sure you select the correct one. Again, I'm associated with one program, so it's automatically selected. Next is resilience grants. Resilience grant ID numbers are assigned to the restoration project where monitoring is taking place. While this field isn't required, we do encourage you to fill it in, as a resilience grant ID numbers help geographically link data across the open data platform. Here you may select as many tags as apply. Next up is restoration activities. This refers to the broad category of on-the-ground action performed during the restoration project. Options include aquatic connectivity, beach, coral, floodplain connectivity, living shoreline, mangrove, and marsh. And again, you may select as many as apply to your data set. For this example, I will be selecting aquatic connectivity. There are also a number of data labels that you can add to your data set. Some of these fields are required while others are not. One required field is metric category. This refers to the category of metric outcomes for which the data are collected. Here you can choose between socioeconomic or ecological. I'll be choosing ecological. Metric classes. This refers to broad categorical groupings of associated metrics ranging from beach geomorphology to elevation to water quality and so on. Again, you may select as many tags as apply to your dataset. For this example, I will be choosing Nectin. Next up is measurement stages, and this information is collected for comparison to monitoring data. There are a few options to choose from here, and I'll explain what they mean. Baseline means the project team is collecting or utilizing previously collected data. Monitoring means the project team is collecting data as part of their monitoring effort. Control means that the project team is collecting data from a site where no restoration occurred in addition to their monitoring site. And reference means the project team has found a site that is similar to their site that they will use to compare with their monitoring data. And we're working to make these descriptions available right here in the Open Data platform, so they'll be available to you as you enter your data. I'll select baseline for our example. Next is reporting years, which refers to the years covered by the dataset. If you'll remember in our description, we said that the data was collected from 2015 to 2018. So I'll go ahead and add each of those years. States and territories refer to the states in which the data was collected. Here you can choose from a state's 2-digit code. While you may select as many as apply given the nature of our data, I'll be selecting one, which is New Jersey. Next, we move to optional tags. Here you may add tags that help people find the data and link it with other data that has the same tags. Tags that have been previously used will appear as you type. And here again, you may add as many as apply to your data. For this example, I'll use tags such as training, test data, and something relevant to our data set, such as species richness. Next is license. Here you can add license information so that people know how they can use your data. If you need more information on licensing, you can visit the link that's included here, opendefinition.org, to find more information. And last is version. And this field is solely for your team's use if you'd like to keep a record of version control of your data. Once all of the dataset information has been added, you can move on to adding resources, which, as we discussed, are the actual data files. So here I'll be adding a zip file to my database. It contains geospatial shapefiles showing the distribution of Atlantic killifish and prime hook in 2015. This is an example of grouped data that can be uploaded as a zip file. The name will automatically be generated based on the name of the file that you upload, but you can change that to something more relevant to your data if you'd like. And that is what I'm going to do now. So I'm changing it to Atlantic killifish distribution for 2015. Next is the description, and you can think of the description as the type of information you would include in the README section of a file's metadata. So I will go ahead and add a description, and I've added shapefiles showing Atlantic killifish distribution in Prime Hook, New Jersey in 2015. Now that that information is in, you can either add another resource by clicking Save and Add Another, or finish creating your data set. One quick thing I'll note before I move on to the next page, you'll see here that you can select the file format, although it will automatically be generated based on the file you upload. And as I mentioned before, resources can be virtually any file type that you wish, although as we said, we do encourage zip files since they're great for large uh, large groups of information. So with that, I will finish creating my data set. Next, we'll discuss editing a data set. Once you've created your data set, you will have the ability to edit it as you wish. Simply click Manage, and it will open this page that allows you to edit as you need. One common reason for editing a data set is adding additional years of data as they become available. So in this example, you could use the Edit Database tab, Edit Metadata tab, to change the description, to add another year. And you could also come down to the reporting years and add another year as it's available. You could then use the Resources tab, which can be found here at the top, to add data for 2019. While I'm also on this page, I want to show that you can use the Manage button to delete a data set if you need to. So you don't have to worry that everything you put on the site is final. You can delete and edit as needed. Great. And lastly, I want to show how searching for data works because that's a key purpose of the Open Data Platform. So to search for data, you can select Datasets at the top of your screen. And here I can type in any search word, and all of the data sets containing those keywords or tags will appear. So for this example, I'll do species richness. And I know we just used that for a tag on our data set we just created. And as you can see, it shows up here. There are also a number of filters on the left-hand side of the page, which can be used to search for data. Additionally, as we mentioned, one of the really cool features of the dataset is the ability, of the Open Data Platform, is the ability to look at data from other grantees and programs. You can use the Grants and Programs tabs to find that data even more easily. So first we'll go to the Grants page. And here you can see all of the grants that are currently on the Open Data Platform. When you click on a grant, it'll take you to the grant page where you can find all of the publicly available data associated with the grant. We'll next look at the programs page, which is the same idea as the grants page. You can click on a program to view all of the associated data sets. And while there is no current data uploaded at the moment, you can see from the number of programs and grants that there are a lot of people, other grantees to interact with here on the Open Data Platform, and a lot of data to explore.